We are going to talk about Greensburg in the year 1799. And while I talk, what I'm going to do is turn a slideshow on so that there'll be something going on, and this won't be so boring. We'll later talk about these images. But right now I just wanted to say something about why we're talking about Greensburg in 1799. That was the year when Greensburg first had any legal existence. It was there, present before that. It was kind of a cluster of houses and buildings, people, a courthouse in the middle of Hempfield Township. But until 1799, the place really had no existence as a town. It was the county seat. And since it had become the county seat, it was thought that it should also have identity, legal identity, as a town of some kind. So in 1799, it was incorporated as Greensburg, Pennsylvania. And since it was a town, the city fathers decided there should be an attempt to find out what they had as a tax base. You know, I mean, where they could get some money to make this town suitable with, you know, fitting appurtenances, streets, and, you know, civic buildings and whatever they needed, you know. Until that, you know, they were just like a cluster of buildings in Hempfield Township. So to move on here, what I'm going to do is show some of these things. This was the actual census in 1799. They were really not overburdened with people, you might say. The actual people who could be taxed were less than 100 people, probably about 92 people. One of the things that surprised me in putting this together was I actually found pictures of 3 of the people in this census. I didn't expect to, but I was very glad to, because you think most of these people are kind of lost in the debris of history. We're going to start with a Alexander Johnston. Alexander Johnston, who was an innkeeper then, having $520 worth of property, and that was a significant amount, believe it or not. You would think that was just chump change, but it wasn't then. I mean, if you had $520 worth of property, then you were rather well off. This is a picture of Alexander Johnston when he was fairly old. That's why his face looks like it may have been ravaged by a stroke. There was no photography back then in 1799, and there was back on the frontier where Greensburg really was, there were no artists who would do an image. So at that early day, they had to wait, you know, until somebody could come along to do a better image. Alexander Johnston listed himself as an innkeeper or a tavern keeper in that date. He had just recently come to this country from Ireland. Actually, he was Scotch, but he came from Ireland. His parentage was Scotch. He was born in Ireland. And he was keeping tavern here. That's how he started out. He didn't continue in that profession all his life. He was a rather well-off person. Very much a political person. He held quite a few county offices. One of his sons became a governor of Pennsylvania. This is one of my crude attempts to show what the street where he was keeping tavern looked like. This is West Otterman. This is Pennsylvania. And this is the corner where the Rialto now stands. And the building that Alexander Johnston was keeping tavern in has been replaced by this building here. Alexander Johnston, as he got older and more affluent, moved out to Kingston and started an iron furnace and forge out there, a business making iron. And his house is still out there at Kingston. It's a notable historic site. Now we look at another of the three people who actually had a picture, people who were in that census. This is James Brady. James Brady had been the first sheriff of the county. We see James Brady. He lists himself as an innkeeper with $330 worth of property. The Bradys, for a long time, had this corner here in Greensburg. This is the corner of Main and Otterman. This is the courthouse down here to orient you. James Brady ran a store here, and his son, Hugh Y. Brady, also ran a store here. And we move on to another fellow. Judge John Young was an important Greensburger, a very well-educated fellow. He came to this country from Scotland, became a lawyer in Philadelphia, and moved out to the frontier, which was Greensburg. He became a judge, and this painting of him was actually done by Gilbert Stuart, a very well-known painter in Philadelphia, who did the famous picture of George Washington. This shows us what the town of Greensburg looked like then. It wasn't very big, obviously. The next scene we see will have been about right here. This is on West Pittsburgh Street. This is Main Street. This is Otterman Street. This is Pittsburgh Street. And the next scene we see will be a picture of an establishment of one of the founders of the town. Christopher Truby had a pottery on West Pittsburgh Street, down in Dutchtown. And that's my attempt to show what it might have looked like. And I think we are getting to about the point of stopping, and we'll continue this in another thing. And I have to push a button and say so long, and we'll see you again. Bye-bye.